Welcome back, Athlos artists, to day 2 of our Keith Haring action pose inspired project, whatever you want to call it. Today, like I said, I'm going to be teaching you how to make a body look more filled out and kind of what you see on the screen right now. This is again an example of Keith Haring's pictures, who was, just as a reminder, very inspired by street art and making art that anyone can enjoy, something that you don't need expensive museum tickets to enjoy. Anyone can look at it and enjoy how it looks. And then he was also very inspired by activism, so educating people on some stuff that's maybe kind of hard to talk about sometimes, but it's better to educate and actually talk about it rather than ignore it and hope that it goes away. So those are some things to remind you about that. We also talked about action lines, which are all these little lines going around here, which I'll teach you about today. And then how to put them in your drawing to make it look like your drawing is wiggling. But I am going to go back now, since we saw that example. Now you can have me nice and big, so it's easier to see what I'm doing on here. So as a continuation from last week, or yesterday actually, sorry, excuse me, make sure you make your actual stick figures in pencil, because now is when we're going to make it filled out and then outline the lines we actually want to keep. So this is almost like my jumping jack figure that I made last time. I'll darken the line so you can see it a little bit better. I just used sticks for legs and arms, used a box for the body, and then an oval for the head. After you do this, you can choose either ovals if you like things that are more rounded, or you can do almost like weird rectangles if you like it a little bit more angular or straight. It depends on what you prefer just as an artist. So with this one, I usually do more like rectangles, like kind of rounded rectangles. I'm gonna just take this and right here, see how about halfway down this stick that I made for the arm, I'm going to make a light rectangle. So I might be pressing hard in some of these because I wanna make sure that you can see it, but you at home, draw this a little bit lighter so that it's easy to erase later on once we do our outlining. I'm gonna make another kind of like, see how it's rounded? It's not like a hard rectangle with like straight edges. It's kind of rounded around it. That's to make it look more like a body. So I'm going to keep doing that all the way around. Maybe a little bit right here too. And you notice that Keith Haring, for the actual hands that he made, he didn't make like fingers and stuff. What he did is he made almost like little nubs. So you can do that too if you want. If you want to make hands, feel free to. It is totally up to you. I'm going to make kind of like a neck. I'm going to kind of round that out and do the same things with the legs. See how it's one long stick? I'm going to pick about the halfway point, and that's when I'm going to make the two separate either ovals or rectangles. So again, I'm picking rectangles, but if you were doing ovals, yours would probably look something like this. See, that's just like that. So it's really up to you, whatever you prefer. And notice how on this bottom part, I talked about this last time during our Faith Ringgold project that we did at the beginning of the year. I actually go out right here and then in a little bit, because that looks more like the calf muscles on bodies. And then make almost just like a triangle for feet. So the same thing on this side. Now that you have your basic figure down, doesn't have to be perfect, because again, these are all light lines. We're gonna erase all of these. Now is when you can take out whatever kind of pen you want. I'm just using a Sharpie because I love Sharpies and I like the really dark, bold line that it gives. And I'm just gonna outline on the very outside edge. Doesn't have to be perfect, just kind of have fun with it. If you want to add some fun things, like maybe if you want like an ear, you can do that. If you want to make your people have hair and details, or if you want to make a realistic body, you are totally fine to do so. The reason I'm showing you it really simple is because not everyone is super comfortable with drawing bodies at first. I know for me, like when I was your guys' age, I was not very confident in making bodies. I always felt like my people looked really weird. And it wasn't until I kept practicing and looking at how other people made bodies that I felt more comfortable myself making it. Now I'm fine making bodies. It's not very scary, but that's because I learned how to break it down into easy parts. So instead of trying to make a whole body all at once, I learned how to make the rectangles and then, or like triangles or whatever else, and then building from there. So it's kind of like in life, if you ever have a big goal or project that you need to do and you feel kind of worried about it, like, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this? All you need to do is break it down into smaller chunks, ones that you feel like, okay, yeah, I can do that, I can do that, I can do that. and then it's going to be a whole lot easier. So if you have a big paper, you can, instead of thinking like, oh, I got to make this huge paper, break it down into smaller parts. Think like, okay, I can make notes, I can make the script, then I'm going to make the rough draft, then I'll fix up some mistakes, and then there you go, have the final draft. And each little point makes it way easier to accomplish that big goal if you break it down into smaller ones. So same thing with drawing with this one. And I'm going to make the ground. Again, just have fun with it. Don't worry about it. I'm going to make some clouds because I like the happy little clouds. Yay. Okay. And then after that, you can erase all of your sketch lines. So those are the lines that you did so that you can kind of figure out where to put your person. So I'm just going to kind of erase some of these, and you can erase as much or as little as you need. After you erase everything, that is when you can start putting in the action lines. So the action lines, think about which parts are moving the most, and then put just little U's almost, or like little squiggles. So since this person, I'm gonna make it look like they're actually putting their arms up, or like throwing it up into a jumping jack, I'm going to put some really long lines over here. Same thing over here. And if you wanna make it look extra fast, so I have those two, you can put two little U's like that. Same thing on this side. And then right here, if you want to do like a little bit of movement, just do little ones. Little ones. And then after this, now you can do some textures, some different designs. On my first one that I showed you, what I did a lot is something that's called like cross-hatching. So that's where you can make a couple lines going one way, then make a couple lines going the other, and then just keep going. And you can actually use, remember that Zentangle project that we did together? You can use some of the designs that you came up with in your Zentangle to start filling in some of these. Maybe you don't want something that's that complicated. You can also do something that's called stippling. That's where you just make a whole bunch of dots. This one's kind of relaxing to do because you're literally just making dots. Doesn't have to be pretty, doesn't have to be too specific. Just kind of have fun with it. You can also do, maybe I want some like circles and stuff over here. And you noticed in my last Keith Haring picture that I showed you, there was a lot of those other action lines that I was like all over because it makes it look really exciting. Like just shabow, hello, here I am. So you can do that too if you want. And then you can get on to some shading. So what I did on my characters is I started darker at the hands and feet, and then I slowly went lighter. You can do something different if you want. Like maybe I want it to be darker here. So I'm pressing my pencil, not too hard down, but a little bit. And then slowly but surely, I'm going to make it light, press lighter and lighter until suddenly it looks like it's like not even there. And you can just keep doing that where you press hard and then slowly press lighter until it looks almost blended. And then if you want it real smooth, you can use a finger or anything around, maybe a tissue, and then just blend it in. Just to make it look like it has more depth, so it's not just like just the lines and then the white of the paper. You can make it have a little bit more tonal differences. So again, this project should encourage you to just have someone around you, or yourself, you can make up your own. Just get into some more action poses, thinking about movement, thinking about getting up, doing some maybe light exercises as we're kind of sitting around right now with this whole self-distancing thing. And then also get to know a little bit more about street art and art activism. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm excited to see you next week, either for distance learning or anything like that. I've had a really good time making this project with you today. I hope you have a good rest of your day. See you later.